Hello, everybody. My name is Helen, and I'm VP of Software and AI Security at SAP. And I'm also a co-lead for GenAI OWASP AIBOM initiative together with Dmitry. Dmitry, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Dimitri Reitman and I'm the CTO and co-founder of Sybits, software supply chain security company. And I'm working together with Ellen as part of the OWASP GenAI project to advance the AIBOM adoption and simplicity of use.
Over to you, Dmitry.
So let's start from understanding what we're facing here when it comes to AI, right? Many people think that AI is really that LLM model or any other type of model that was trained on data, and that's what it is. But it's much, much more complex than that. We have a huge ecosystem of multiple types of dependencies working together. And one of the problems when it comes to AI, and specifically to agentic AI, is that we cannot manage risk in what we cannot see. So in order to make some order here, we need to be able to capture the components in the inventory of these components that have been used by these complex AI systems. And we would like to switch to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the invisible AI supply chain. So it all starts with foundational models, and these models are really gigabytes of different weights, different strings. And these models, they're coming with very complex provenance chains that need to be assessed and understood. These models also been trained by different data sources and data sets. And we would like to know what is the data, because eventually, similar to our software, when we have dependencies, we would like to know what are the data source dependencies for the models that we are using and deploying across our organizations. Eventually, many solutions, what they do, they take a foundational model and they apply fine-tunes, adapters, distillations on these models. So once these methods and techniques been applied, what happens is that it's completely hiding the upstream ways, right? So the model files are changing. All of these huge gigabytes of weights are different, and it's very, very hard to understand what are the origins, where this model really came from, and what data sets it was used to train the model. Eventually, it's not just about models, because when models run in a genetic environment, they have a lot of interaction with different other components, such as skills, prompts, the runtime context, identity, MCP servers, and what's not. And it's very hard to trace in real time and during the inference and execution what been used and utilized, and it's creating a huge blind spot for everyone.
Great introduction by Dmitry. Let's take a look at a agentic AI architecture. So we already know that we need to monitor and have inventory of all these components of AI ecosystem. So what are those components when we talk about agentic AI? So we have models, that's one thing. And models we also need to know about what model represents and what it builds and what kind of risks it brings into our system. But these models are used then by agents, and agents also on their own have various components that we need to track. So for example, we have system prompts, we have memory, we have skills and tools that it connects to that could be available tools or tools that generated on demand during the runtime, and also the connections to MCP servers, A2A, and alike. So all this consolidates into the whole AI ecosystem that we need to have transparency and monitoring across. So as you see in the highlights here, we have AIBOM or MLBOM, depending who you talk to, that we need to, foundational models that we need to collect information about, but then also collect information about agents inventory, and of course, our foundational software. So let's look back a little bit. Where is AIBOM coming from? So the initiative on SBOM software bill of materials started way back in 2018. This is where NTIA released the minimum elements for SBOM, and also executive order came out 14028 that was demanding the supply chain security. Then we have subsequent releases of standards. Cyclone DX released um, fields and components and schema for SBOM, as well as SPDX released also as SBOM components profile, sorry, for AI. So both standards do have ability to document those fields. And finally, in 2025, there to 26, there is open source tool, OWASP, GenAI, AIBOM. So now we have standards, we know the fields and metadata we need to document to create the transparency. And now we have also a generated tools that help us collect this data so that we can plug it into our systems. Let's take a look of what is coming in terms of regulatory compliance and different standards that coming out. Of course, we have EU Act that is requiring to monitor high-risk systems and supply chain aspects of it. So without understanding what inventory you have in your system, what kind of components you have, where they're coming from, you won't be able to assess the risks and mitigate them timely. So it's very important that AIBOM, SBOM, and AIBOM, they do enable you for effective and automated risk assessment. The new kid on the block is just released the G7 Cybersecurity Working Group published AIBOM minimum elements. That's the first one, and it's recognized by G7. So it consists of different clusters and explaining what is important in AI bomb, in AI bomb of AI system. Yeah, so we're talking about the metadata models, data sets, but also infrastructure, security properties, system level properties, and KPIs. So very important and new document that has been released and will have a very significant impact in the industry. But not to forget also that we have NIST AI RMF and ISO 42001 that also require to monitor your supply chain security, as well as authoritative guide by Cyclone DX how to document AI bomb or ML bomb using Cyclone DX format. And another also the open source community framework, OWASP, has released risks for top 10 LLM and top 10 agentic applications. OWASP is known for top 10 of software application risks, but for LLM, for large language models, and for agentic applications, both of them have a very high risk for supply chain security. In LLM, we need to understand where supply chain is coming from, like the training data, the models, how they've been trained. Again, what kind of infrastructure is built on, what are the dependencies, and are there any potential risks like model tampering and so on. And for agentic AI, as we already discussed, there is enormous amount of supply chain components. For example, they are very known right now skill poisoning components, and we have to understand how that impacts our applications, our agentic applications that are coming now and deployed all over the enterprises in the industry. So very important top 10 reference here for you also to be aware of and link how AIBOM enables that. Dmitry, back to you.
Thank you, Helen. Great overview. So let's talk a little bit what belongs where, right? Because there is a lot of confusions about, hey, what is the AIBOM and what is SBOM? And now we're also talking about CBOMs, cryptography, bill of materials, and hardware bill of materials, right? It's all very confusing. So let me try to make some order in all of this soup of acronyms. So if we're looking at something that describes the holistic system of ours, right? Eventually, we used to call it an SBOM, right? Now, what is the AIBOM then? Well, AIBOM is an SBOM that has software components, right, like Python libraries, container image, application frameworks, but it also includes the AIBOM components, right, which might be machine learnings, might be datasets, might be agent details, and this data that describes each and every component that comes usually from the model card, including the provenance of the models. For example, if I made fine-tuning on a model, I would like to specify which base model and foundational model I have used. In addition, on top of that, HBOM becoming very important part. If you look at the requirements by BSI as part of the G7 that Helen mentioned before, there is some mentioning about the HBOM, the hardware bill of materials, and the processors that might be used in the infrastructure that actually the AI models are running on them. So when we're looking really at the agentic system bomb, right, eventually we'll find out there SBOM, AIBOM, HBOM, CBOM, runtime behaviors, data, right, which tools use, which MCP servers, which APIs, and also very important, what the agent allowed to do. As example, what kind of tools is allowed to call? Or example, does it allow to generate its own tools and call them, right? All of these things ideally would be described as part of the holistic SBOM that has also AI components. And eventually, for future outlook, we also would like to see some runtime evidence, how this thing performs, how it runs, how much power it consumes, etc. So let's talk about the basic AI BOM elements that we covered today in the open source generator that we have built as part of the OWASP, agentic AI, GenAI security project in the AI BOM initiative. So today we're capturing data about models, like data from model cards, right? So different type of things like architecture, hashes, commits, data, hyperparameters, intended use, etc., and performance metric. One of the very important things that I want to emphasize here is that if we use the software, right, we got already used to use versioning for softwares, right? Whether it's open source, whether it's commercial software, there usually will be a version for the software or release for the software. With models, it's a little bit different. What you will find out is, an example, if you will look at Hugging Face, there is no clear versioning, right? There is no version lifecycle management. There is no semver usage. What happens is that someone declares that they have specific model, the version would be embedded usually in the name of the model itself, and then there will be multiple commits that will change, in many cases, the model itself, right? With different fine-tunes, retraining data, etc. So usually what we found out and recommending to use is to use the hash of the commit, right, of this specific model that you are using. So you always will be able to resolve back and see what model you have used in your infrastructure. And of course, data about governance, ownership, and accountability, right? So if we working against some frameworks like NIST IRMF or ISO 42001 or the UEI Act, or we want to align with the G7 minimal requirements for SBOM, right? We want to make sure that we're collecting all the required information and data. And eventually, of course, capturing the information about the considerations, ethical, environmental, fairness, and many other details about the specific model in use. Now, when you're coming to implementing AIBOM, right, there are two options for us. One of the options is CycloneDX, and CycloneDX supports AI or ML BOM since version 1.5. Today we are at 1.7. There is much, I would say, wider support. It supports much more, capturing much more details and attributes. By the way, it's with CycloneDX, what is interesting is that there is also the taxonomy of CycloneDX, and we created our own taxonomy as part of the OWASP AIBOM group that you can go and check at CycloneDX taxonomy GitHub repository. And there we will be adding additional parameters that we can represent in the properties of every component of CycloneDX that actually can map to different use cases that we are identifying as a working group and as part of the work we are doing together with the community. Of course, there are stronger types and weaker types. For Cyclone Dix, there is great adoption, and something to know is that the next Cyclone Dix version is 2.0, and it's in development right now. It's due in June 2026 based on the information we have, but it might change, of course. When it comes to SPDX from Linux Foundation, that's another, I would say, language to implement the AIBOM or SBOMs. It has a lot of dedicated fields that purposely were created and defined for AIBOM. There was a lot of work that went actually into defining the SPDX version of AIBOM, and there is a tooling to create these SBOMs. Something to note is that SPDX is aligned with the ISO IEC standard, and of course there is similar adoption to SPDX across the community. Next release of the SPDX is 3.1 that further improves and expands the support for AI in this standard language.
Now let's put it in a perspective. So actually, when Dmitry and we were preparing for this talk and we were looking at this workflow, we were discussing, how this actually becomes life in organization. And Dmitry mentioned this, it's operational agility. That's the term. I love it. Operational agility is what we actually need to strive for. And AIBOM is how we can reach that operational agility at scale. So let's take a look in more detail here. So we have this life cycle of how we want to monitor and assess our risks. Yeah. So we start by selecting a model. Let's say we want to implement something, or we want to adopt some tool that has a model, and we need to assess that risk. So for that model, we can generate an AI bomb, or we can request a vendor to provide that AI bomb for us. Based on that, we go through risk assessment, understanding. We plug it into SBOM management system, perhaps, that will help us identify components of AI bomb and potentially any threats that are already existing in a wild there. Also here, we need to think about agentic inventory. So we want to add not just the models that we collect, but also if we use agents, the tools that they use. So registry for tools, we want to have a registry for prompts, system prompts, memory, what kind of permissions we have granted to agents, what they're allowed, and of course, skills is one of the things that also is important to monitor here. Having that picture, we can assess the risk, and we can go into deciding then, the model risk plus agentic risk. Are we okay with that risk? Can we continue? Or if not, maybe we need to go and adjust the model, pick a different model and different control. So if you talk about picking a model, let's say open source model, we selecting open source model for experimentation or even using that model in a solution. So if you see risks in that model, and those risks can come from anywhere, it can come even in the files that are text files that somehow also evoke the execution, execution files to run a malware. So we need to be very careful what we adopt here. So the systemic review is necessary. Now, if we see the risk, then we go and select the other one. And OWASP GenAI AIBOM generator tool is the tool that can support today already by collecting this information from models that are currently hosted as open source or open weight models on Hugging Face. Now you have adopted this in your system, and then you need to continue monitoring that at scale. So changes right now are happening not even on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And without understanding what happens and what risks are being directly adopted in your production with those changes, you will not be able to sustain and respond timely. So AIBOM with SBOM and the whole holistic SBOM that Dmitry was talking about is the key for this operational agility, so that you can also go into the world of post-Mythos when we have such a huge load of vulnerabilities that is coming our way. Okay, next. So let's talk a little bit about our initiative with GenAI Security Project. This started a while back. So Dmitry and I, we actually been working as part of CISA SBOM initiative, AIBOM target team. This is where we have defined SBOM use cases, how to use AIBOM use cases. And the one thing that was missing is like, okay, we have use cases, we understand why we need to use this, but we are missing the key component, how to generate that, how to generate for open source models, and so on. So this is where we have introduced the first time AIBOM generator at RSA 2025 a year ago. And then after that, it was evolved with the community and became an initiative of OWASP, where we continue evolving it today and improving this tool going forward. And as you understand, this is also evolving field of supply chain AI security, and standards are being updated. We're expecting further updates. We also need to consider things like agentic AI and components. And of course, there will be more work done and more improvement done on this tool. So roadmap is tremendous, and we also invite everybody to participate. It's an open forum as part of GenAI security project. Okay, now we have a small demo for you as well. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and Dmitry will take over to show OWASP AIBOM generator tool.
All right. Let's hope that the demo gods are with us, and I would start from our GitHub repository. So if anyone would like to check out the project, please navigate to GenAI Security Project /AIBOM-generator on GitHub, or you can always scroll back in the video and scan the QR code that Helen shared. So this is our project, right? There's few branches. There's the main branch, there's the integration branch. That's kind of the two that you would like to use. But overall, you can all this repository, and then it's very easy to use it, right? So the repository has two modes of operation. One of the modes is CLI, right? So if someone wants to use it as part of their CI/CD build and produce an SBOM from, AIBOM or SBOM for AI as part of their process, you can easily do that. Or as example, you can run it on standalone server and do that as well using a UI. So I'm going to show you the CLI part, right? It's quite easy. So I already clone the repository, and I'll get the zoom here. So this is my anti-gravity, right? And I clone the repository, so I have my command line here. It's quite simple. If you want to see all the instructions, just go to the README file, right? And if you want to go fast, just install the required dependencies and run one of these test examples. But I have done one before. So you can see here, I want to create an AIBOM for this specific model, which is Onslaught Qwen 3.6. And overall, you have some parameters that you can specify. Of course, you can see all of the parameters that are allowed here. There's also little summarization capabilities as part of the CLI. So it will try to use some small model to summarize the model card and kind of understand what actually this model does. But I'm going to run it without it now. So I'm giving it a name, my custom model. I'm giving it the version, right? It's very important because that's really the outer shell of what we're generating. It's not just, hey, that's the model. We kind of, hey, we're working as part of the project. So that would be my project name, my project version. Usually we need to provide in any SBOM component manufacturer supplier. This is a very good practice. I really recommend following that. And of course, then I want the SBOM to be output in my SBOM folder / my SBOM JSON. This CLI run, when I run it now, it basically does for you everything, right? It takes a couple seconds, but it will create now 3 major files. One of them is CycloneDX 1.7. The other one is CycloneDX 1.6. We decided that we always will support the current and the previous version of different languages, right? Of course, we have on our roadmap SPDX support as well. And it also will generate an HTML report file that will allow you to visually observe the SBOM, which is not less important, right? So now I got my SBOM files generated. Let's go to my OWASP folder, and I can see now I have my SBOM folder. And let's start from the visual representation, right? So I'll open this HTML file. Now you can see the visual report that gives you all this information, right? You can, of course, generate another AIBOM from here. You can download this CycloneDX 1.6, 1.7 files. You can see what are the minimum profile that we used. Here is hit the basic profile, right? So we can see the name, the type. You remember I told you about using hashes instead of versions, some versions and others. That's how we're using it. We don't use the huge hash. We don't want like large details. So we're using the first 8 alphanumeric characters of the hash. And there is the description. There is the plural. You can look at the plural spec. Of course, you'll find that is following it, license that we detected, right? And another myriad of fields that we're using. There are 4 tabs here, right? So you can see the field checklist. Now you can see here, that's the required field categories. Usually we'll show you also what is the type. Now, what's nice here is that you can click on that and it will take you to the exact, well, as I said, sometimes, no, actually it does take you to the exact place of where is defined in CycloneDX. And let's put it a little bit on the test. So if we have as example component, let's take datasets. It should supposed to work for us, or maybe not.
The link it says dataset, but it didn't expand for some reason. Yeah,
it didn't expand. Yeah, I think something has changed in the website here. So overall, there is also the AI taxonomy, right? So if you remember, I told you about that. You can click on the AI taxonomy, but again, it's taking us to the wrong place. We'll check what's happening with that. But overall, this is the fields that we trying to capture and extract from the model card, right? So you can observe, you can learn about these fields more here. And of course, there is the score report, right? Score is not great, it's fair, but again, it could be better. Also, there is different categories of score with breakdown. And eventually, we also showing you the JSON view because people, I mean, like me, that we like to read this through JSON, so you can actually see all the details of the components. You can see the authors being populated. The description was not generated because I didn't run it in the summarizer mode. The summarizer should populate that, but you can see there is a BOM reference, there is a model files, right? Specific commits, model repositories, licenses, manufacturer, URL of the manufacturer as well, right? The name of the model, properties of the model, plural of the model, supplier, of course, type, machine learning model. That's the type of the component in CycloneDX, right? And there is also the model card details populated, and here's the properties that's going basically following our taxonomy model. And you can see you can find it actually at GenAI AIBOM model card, and there's hyperparameter, vocabulary size, tokenizer class, and many other settings there. So this is the view, of course, from perspective of the UI, right? But we always can download the file, or I can just open it here, right? Whether it's 1.7, you can clearly see what is CycloneDX 1.7. This one would be CycloneDX 1.6. So if you open this file, we can actually see the same view, the same SBOM. And I can say that I tested this solution with various SBOM management solutions, and they accept it. They import it, they accept it, they understand what it says, so it is definitely usable. I'll stop the demo here. If you have any questions, of course, you're welcome to reach to Helen and myself over LinkedIn or one of our meetings. You can join us.
Speaking of questions, you can also tap chat below. Forgot to say that, but I think our attendees know that. So what I wanted to mention about this demo, that you saw the CLI demo, but we also provide a historically web interface, just if you just want to take a look and see how the model is documented and learn a little bit more. So that was our initial initial view before we introduce CLI. CLI, of course, it's for more integration with your pipelines and your processes at scale. But the web interface also provides these capabilities that you can go. And if you just click on,
So you can go to our GitHub repository and scroll down. You'll see here is the little hand pointing at the link. Just click this link and it will take you to its container it's running in Hugging Face, and you can actually just enter here and let me show you how it's been done, right? So we can go to our Hugging Face and models, just choose the model of your liking here. Let's take as example, DeepSeek AI. Let's take this model. Let's go here to, sorry, wrong one. Let's go here, paste it here, click on generate AIBOM, and voila, I have your AIBOM. You get the same analysis, the same everything, and you can download the CycloneDX or CycloneDX 1.7 files, right? And you can use them.
Yeah, of course. But if you want to integrate, use CLI version. And also one interesting point about the scoring, one of our friends in the industry who was developing their own model actually documented so well that the score was skyrocketing. So it's also interesting. So if you are working on developing models, you can use this tool to see how well your model is documented, considering all the governance and security perspective. But let me jump back quickly to finish our presentation with just a slide or two. Okay, thank you for the demo, Dmitry. All right, so let's look at the takeaways, what we learned today. So what we would like you to remember, actually. So first of all, AIBOM brings transparency to AI models. So as you see, we can collect so much metadata about our models, and by having understanding, by knowing about it, we can also understand what are the risks and how to react to that. So, but also remember that AIBOM is just one layer across the whole AI supply chain. So we need to consider the whole stack, SBOMs, HBOMs, CBOMs, and also include our agentic applications and inventory of those components that we collect in our ecosystem, not just models. Third, we have risk assessment that drives better decisions. So like I said, you can only make the right assessment if you know what you're looking at, and if you know all the details about those components that you're absorbing in your organization. And lastly, we need to continue have continuous monitoring and transparency so that we can respond to issues at scale, operational agility, remember the term, so that we can respond quickly, fast, and efficiency. And in a matter of, seconds, minutes, we will know what we have in our system. And don't wait, even though we have a lot of new things developing, there is something new happening every day, more or less in the industry. Start now, even if it's not absolutely perfect or complete. It's better start with what we have today than don't start at all. So take a tool, generate the AIBOM, try to understand what we have there, what you have there, what that model documents, and can you assess the risk for that model, whether or not you want to apply it or use it in your organization. Dmitry, any last words for our presentation?
Well, definitely come and help us. Definitely, we desperately need for help and hands to make this more improved, more broader, and cover more use cases and support more languages. So definitely, I invite everyone who wants to, whoever, if you're technical or if you're even journalist, join our group.
Yeah, thank you. So reach out to us on LinkedIn, OWASP emails here, or join on GitHub also has references how to join our work streams. For AIBOM, we meet bi-weekly with the group of people who are enthusiastic about developing this further. Join our Slack channel. We are very responsive. If we don't reply right away, don't get disappointed. We have 1,000 other things, but we will get back to you. So make sure that if you want to join, you reach out to us. So thank you for listening our presentation today. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.